Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the Bundesliga show. We are back for another prediction and fantasy football show this evening. So I hope everyone is doing well on the brink of the Easter holidays. I'm sure lots of people are happy and already supping their choice of alcoholic beverages. What about you, Mark? Do you have much time off for Easter?
Yeah, we got the same holidays as the UK. I think we got tomorrow and then Easter Monday as well. So it's a nice 4-day long weekend, which is great, really, So, yeah.
So lots of Bundesliga to enjoy as well. So all the games being played over Saturday and Sunday this weekend. So no Friday game, and I think there's unusually four Sunday games. So it's all going to be pretty chock-a-block. Lots of important games to come now. Obviously, we're into Matchweek 30 now. So obviously, there's only 34 games because the Bundesliga is a slightly smaller league than the Prem or some of the other, obviously, European leagues. So we're right into the countdown stages now. So we'll do a few predictions and then we'll go through our fantasy football stuff. As you'll have noticed, there's no Runa this evening. However, we will do our best to get through as much fantasy football content as we can do. And I'm sure Runa will be back in due course, hopefully next week, for some more detailed looking at fantasy football. Let's crack on. Obviously, before we do so, we are indeed in partnership with Runa's Bully News, brilliant website for Bundesliga information, obviously written in English for English-speaking fans of the Bundesliga. I go there for all my information regards to breaking news, stories and things like that, particularly about Stuttgart, my team, and what player is wanting to leave us next, basically. So all bad news, it seems, at the moment. Although we've got Sasa Kalajdzic back, but we've now lost Endo to COVID-19, which is just as big a blow. And of course, please do like, comment and subscribe. If you are watching on Twitter, please do come over and watch with us on YouTube. It really helps us out in terms of the algorithms with boosting kind of everything with regards to watching and content on YouTube particularly, which helps us grow more. So, come on, comment where you're watching from. It'll be really interesting to see where people are watching the show from, or comment after the show has gone live. We'll go straight into some predictions for this weekend. So let's start off with Saturday afternoon football. We've got Borussia Dortmund hosting VfL Wolfsburg. I think this will be a close game, mainly because I think Dortmund are missing quite a few first team regulars. Also, they had a load of injuries when they played my boys Stuttgart at the weekend. So based on that fact and how buzzing Wolfsburg will be after their big win from last weekend, I expect it to be quite a close game. So I'll give it a 2-2 draw for me.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, as you say, Rory, I mean, Dortmund, the kind of injury plagued at the moment, aren't they? But obviously, this is a big game for them because they will want to take it into next week's kind of, I wouldn't really call it a title decider considering that Bayern are 9 points clear, but obviously they won't want to be out of the race mathematically until that game, at least give it kind of one big cup final for them. So I have backed Dortmund to get the 2-0 win here because I think while Wolfsburg have got a lot to look forward to, obviously after confirming the signing of Wimmer today as well, which I think is a great sign ahead of next season. I think this season ultimately has been a disappointment. I think they'll get beaten 2-0.
Yeah, fair enough. Moving on then, the noon game. Big one for my boys who travel away to Mainz. So Mainz at home to VfB Stuttgart. The problem is it's a shame that it's the other way around because Mainz obviously do not travel for some strange reason. They can't travel away in the Bundesliga, but they're at home, which is more or less a fortress for them. So it will be really hard for Stuttgart to get any kind of result. Obviously, like I mentioned, Endo is the engine for Stuttgart. He is the leader, he's the engine. Brilliant to have Sasa Kalajdzic back if he's fit. Obviously, having just had COVID, which will be a big boost to our goal scoring efforts. So it all balances itself out. I'm going to hope for a 1-1 draw.
Yeah, I mean, obviously this is a much bigger game for Stuttgart. With Mainz, let's be honest, they're going to finish mid-table now. I think last week's defeat against Köln pretty much ended their European challenge realistically. But I think what we've got to remember is that Mainz are a much, much better side at home. And they really are Jekyll and Hyde at home and away, because at home they win the vast majority of games, but away they lose the majority of games. So they're one of those teams, aren't they? But unfortunately for you, Rory, I've actually backed Mainz to get the win here. In the Bundesliga, you don't really tend to see teams kind of tail off like you do in the Premier League, really. And I think, the managers make sure that teams stay focused right until the last day. And Mainz won't want to kind of slip any more places down, because, they've been a top half side for most of the season until probably the last month or so. But I do think they'll just nick a 2-1 win, which would be a bit of a disaster for Stuttgart, let's be honest. But I back them to do so.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, hard one to disagree with, really. They're moving on to another game which involves obviously a lot of relegation kind of stipulation. FC Augsburg hosting Hertha Berlin. Hertha obviously still really struggling. Augsburg seem to have turned the corner, like you said, Mark, under Weinziel. He's got them playing genuinely decent football. They look confident, compact. Reece Oxford, like, as you mentioned a few times, Mark, who I think you're a fairly big fan of, he's been doing really well. So with all that going on in Hertha, it's just seemingly like a bit of a mess, and it's still not really picked up massively since McGaff's come in. I'm going to say a close one, but a 2-1 win for Augsburg, I think it's got to be.
Yeah, I mean, Augsburg at home, to be honest, for most of the season have been really, really good, actually. They beat Bayern at home. They got a draw against Dortmund. And obviously the last two wins over Wolfsburg and Mainz were super impressive, considering the importance of them as well at that time of the season. And that has given them that 6-point cushion, even to third bottom. And they know going into this game that a win is going to pretty much guarantee them in the Bundesliga next season. Let's be honest. I mean, for me, this is that's the level. I mean, they go 9 points clear with 4 games left. That pretty much guarantees it. But I think this is kind of a bigger game for Hertha Berlin, actually, for me, because Hertha, they are running out of games. They're playing not that well again. I mean, last week's performance was poor against Union, but I've actually gone for them to get a draw in this game. I just think, for me, this is the game that will show whether Hertha will stay up. If they fight and get a point, I think they might just have enough to stay up. But if they go and lose 2-3-0 here, then I'm not sure there's any way back for them, to be honest. But I've gone for them to get a 1-1 draw. But, probably Augsburg are the more likely winners here, in truth.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, particularly with the home crowd behind them really buzzing and wanting them to, stretch out towards safety. And then we've got still afternoon football, Saturday afternoon, SC Freiburg hosting VfL Bochum. Freiburg, of course, is still pushing for those European spots. And I think Bochum now realistically know that they're fairly comfortable in the Bundesliga. Obviously, like you said, like the celebrations, in terms of their one they won. A draw against Leverkusen as well was really important for them. Welcoming back Simon Zoller, that's brilliant news for them, of course. So all that said, I think they'll probably just be edged out by Freiburg at home, who are really strong and will push on to potentially keep up their kind of push for European football.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Freiburg's season has just been outstanding, hadn't it? And I mean, they probably just need 2 more wins from the last 5 to guarantee top 6, which would be at least Europa League, which would just be an outstanding season. Obviously, they've got the cup. I think the semi is next week, so I mean, they might have one eye on that game, to be honest, But they've got to keep up that Champions League push for me, that's for sure. And I think they will get the win here. I think, as you say, Bochum have had a great season. That they could mathematically guarantee the safety if they win and Bielefeld and Hertha lose this weekend, which would be a huge achievement with 4 games to go. But I think they might have to wait another 1 or 2 games to do that. And for me, Freiburg will get a 2-0 win here.
Yeah, very good. Okay, moving on to Saturday evening football. We have got ourselves a Rhine derby. We've got Borussia Mönchengladbach versus FC Köln. at Borussia Park. So yeah, should be an exciting game, this one. Probably be quite a lot of goals in it, I suspect. Gladbach have been a lot more solid as well so far this season. So, in recent times, Cologne have obviously had a fantastic season. And I think they'll probably just edge it as well. Obviously, Gladbach haven't had much of the run of results recently, I think, in Rhineland Derby. So I'm going to go with a very exciting 3-2 win to Cologne.
Yeah, incredibly, we've gone for the same result here. I thought I was going for like a real shock there, but yeah, I agree that it's going to be a really entertaining game. This, and I just think, yeah, Gladbach are probably just about favourites with the bookies, but for me, Köln are just like, do you know what I mean? They just fight that little bit harder than Gladbach. I think they're probably quite similarly matched teams, really, on paper this season. But obviously, Köln have just fought that little bit harder, and they've got more wins, haven't they? And last week's win over Mainz was just typified their season, really, when they came back from 2-0 down. I agree with you, Rory. They were battered by Gladbach 4-1. Sorry, Köln battered Gladbach 4-1 in the reverse fixture in this game. And I think last season, Köln also won at Gladbach. So as you say, they do have the kind of upper hand at the moment in this derby. So yeah, I've gone for a 3-2 away win as well.
Yeah, there we go. Great minds think alike. So yeah, the 5 games on Saturday, so we've got 4 on Sunday to look forward to. So the first one being Arminia Bielefeld. I'll get to the unlucky pleasure, perhaps, of hosting the hurting champions, Bayern Munich, who of course got knocked out of the Champions League just last evening, and to Villarreal. So, you know, typically I've seen a lot of Bielefeld fans on Twitter and stuff like that saying like, oh, it's just typical that they're just going to bounce back and absolutely hate on us and smash us, basically. Seen a lot of love for Bielefeld in the comments from Gary and Johnny. So, yeah, but obviously hope you two are doing well, Gary and Johnny. You know, asking the question, will Bielefeld stay up? It is a really tricky one. And obviously Bielefeld do seem to have a really kind of solid support in England. It seems to be that they're well liked by a lot of English fans. And you know what, Johnny also right, Stuttgart could fall into a playoff spot very soon, and Bielefeld might switch with them. But right now, Bielefeld are probably looking like the most likely to go down, I'd say, only based on how the fixtures fall for Hertha, but that's only if Hertha can sort themselves out. There's so many if, buts, and maybes. So there's a very good chance that Bielefeld may well stay up. And for this game, it might be kind of invitation, I guess. I'm going for 3-1 Bayern. I think it will all depend on how Bielefeld start. If Bayern can get ahead early, then it could be a high number, I think.
Yeah, it's a funny game, this one, because it's probably actually a bigger game for Bielefeld, really, even though Bayern are, you know, very close to the title and could not quite mathematically complete it. But if they win and Dortmund lose, then it's pretty much over due to goal difference, you know. So, you know, we'll have to see what happens with Dortmund on the Friday night. But yeah, I don't know. It's the kind of game they might be demotivated for me, though, because obviously usually when they lose a league game, they bounce back straight with a win. But obviously this is a Champions League game, and not only a Champions League game, but that was a match where their whole season was being judged on that match, and they couldn't get the W, so to speak. So, you know, they're going to be really feeling sorry for themselves. And question marks have been asked about Nagelsmann's tactics recently, and just Bayern's genuine performance since January, really, where they've not been very good for me, really, and a shadow on Hansi Flick's all-conquering side at the moment, that's for sure. But I still back Bayern to get the win, because I just think Bielefeld have just been absolutely poor the last few weeks, you know, and culminating in that dreadful performance at Wolfsburg last week. And this is not a good time to be playing Bayern for them, really. And I've gone for a 2-0 win, but I don't really see Bielefeld causing that many problems for Bayern, to be honest.
No, it's really interesting to see where Bayern have gone, because at the start of the season, we were lauding Nagelsmann for potentially taking Bayern to the next level, really. And they were playing really, really good football, let's be honest. And maybe they just weren't tested enough. And the Champions League, like, everyone can have their own theories on it and stuff like that. But I genuinely think in Europe, they weren't really tested up to a certain point, obviously being the Champions League. And then they they fell over a really stubborn and well-drilled Villarreal side. So, yeah, very interesting one there. A test for Nagelsmann that he's ultimately failed on this occasion. So pressure will be on him as the efforts in the Champions League. On we go in the Bundesliga. So we've got Union Berlin versus Frankfurt. So this is obviously another game that has implications for teams chasing European football. But Frankfurt are starting to fall out of contention, really, I guess, of their loss to Freiburg on fire. Derby got their tactics spot on, and made light work in the end of Hertha. And I expect that good form to continue. So I think they'll beat Frankfurt 2-1. I think it will be a close game because Frankfurt have got quality players, let's be honest, but they're not quite figuring it out, Frankfurt. So I reckon Union will get another important win.
Yeah, I mean, Frankfurt were a little bit unlucky to lose against Freiburg last week. I watched that game and they played well, but it's just, as you say, it's just not going for them at the minute, and the Boré, despite having a good kind of winter period, he's not really gone on, has he? And it seems to have been a while since he last scored. But the other thing you've got to remember for this game is that Frankfurt have got to go away to Barcelona tonight for possibly one of their biggest matches in their history, I would say, really, to go have the opportunity to go to the new camp and try and get a result, which will put them in the semi-final of the Europa League, But obviously they've got it massively against them, against one of the form teams in Europe, Barcelona at the moment. But yeah, for me, I agree that Union, this is the kind of game that Union will think, we can get another win here and really have a chance of getting sixth potentially in Europa League football, which would be a massive achievement for them. They've really hit form again the last two games after a bit of a dip for probably 5 or 6 games after the loss of Kreuzer and Friedrich, but they've well and truly come back, and that last week was one of their best performances of the season, no doubt. For me, they'll get another 2-1 win here.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, it'll be interesting with Frankfurt this evening, obviously kicking off in less than half an hour. What do you reckon, Mark? Do you reckon they'll pull off a miracle? I think they played really well last week, and even when they went down to 10 men, I thought they were still really good. Barca's goal was quality, the equaliser, but they just need that miracle moment. Maybe they need to do a bit of a Villarreal onto Barca tonight.
Yeah, I thought they were brilliant. I really were. Last week, they couldn't have played much better, really. They were superb. And as you say, they went down to 10 men with 15 minutes ago, and you were thinking, Barca are going to get maybe 2 or 3 in this time. But they stayed in the tie during that time, And they were the better side until probably 60, 65 minutes. But then Barca finished the game really strong, didn't they? But I don't think it's impossible they could do it. I really don't, because Frankfurt have got a lot of bottle. And, I think they got to the semis of the Europa League 3 or 4 years ago, and they lost just about to Chelsea that year when Chelsea won it, and they lost on penalties. So they do have European pedigree. So I would tip Barca just to win, but I'd go like 2-1 or something like that tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Will be a tough game for them tonight, but good luck. Moving on again, we've been hosting to first. Hoffenheim desperately need to avert the slide that they're on right now. It's really kind of come a cropper at the wrong time for them. Of course, they chasing European football themselves. Obviously sat in 6th place at the moment, being hunted down by Union and Köln just behind them. And obviously on paper, it's the best game that you could possibly get to maybe bounce back. But Hertha showed in the second half of the season they are no mugs, but they do struggle considerably more on the road. So I do expect Hoffenheim to get back into winning ways on this occasion. I think it will be 3-1.
Yeah, I mean, this is the perfect game, really, let's be honest, with all due respect to Fürth. And it is like last chance saloon for them now, because the 3 horrendous performances back-to-back has just massively carboshed their whole season, really, because they were well on course for potentially top 4 before that. And then obviously being battered by Hertha, losing at home to Bochum, and then being basically schooled by Leipzig last week. And, this is last chance saloon. Now, if they lose this, they probably won't qualify for Europe at all for me. So, it's not an absolute gimme, because despite having kind of been beaten quite comfortably the last few games, they have improved since Christmas, and I would say that there is a chance he could get a point, but I have actually gone for a 4-1 win. I just think, they beat them 6-3 in the reverse game, and we know that they can score goals Hoffenheim once they get going, and I think they might take their anger out on Fürth a little bit, to be honest, in this game, and I've gone for 4-1 to the home side.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it could be a tricky afternoon for Greuther Fürth. So last game of the weekend, a very tasty one. So set your alarms 6:30 English time or 7:30 German time is by Leverkusen versus RB Leipzig. So yeah, I mean that'll be a really interesting game, I think. Leverkusen have been, pretty steady, but they would have been disappointed not to have beaten Bochum last weekend, really. Obviously, that missed penalty from Diaby that was a crazy moment in that game. Obviously, the slip from Diaby and the double touch of the penalty, obviously, which did go in. So they were celebrating, but then the referee very correctly spotted that Diaby slipped and hit the ball twice, which you cannot do. And obviously ended up being a draw. Leipzig. The last time I checked, they were winning. Obviously, in Atalanta, obviously in their big game, which they did win 2-0. So they are through to the semi-finals of the Europa League. So well done to them. One of the few German teams left in Europe flying the flag, although not a very popular one, I guess, for most German fans. But they've done a good job there. And so that is all about momentum, isn't it? They're doing really, really well. So I have gone for a 3-1 away win. I think they'll do the job and push on to finish in third place.
Yeah, I mean, as you say, Rory, what a win that is for them tonight. I mean, that we talked about Bayern before. This was like the test of the season against Villarreal. They didn't come through, and I wouldn't quite say it was the test of the season tonight, but it was a massive game because a lot of people in Germany do believe that Leipzig can win this tournament, and maybe a little bit disappointed to draw the home game last week, but to comfortably win the away leg, really 2-0, is just against a good Atalanta side. I mean, they're going to be big favourites going into that semi-final against Braga or Rangers as well, which we'll find out tonight, and then potentially a final against maybe Lyon or Barcelona or even West Ham, who knows, or Frankfurt. Don't rule them out. But for me, Leipzig have got a great chance of winning not only a trophy but a European trophy as well, and obviously favourites for the Pokal as well. They're going to have a tough task against Union in midweek as well. But I mean, who'd put it beyond them at the minute? They're just playing so well. And this is a great test again, and they're just going to be loving this. They love the big games, Leipzig, and as we've seen this season, beating Dortmund twice, they lost twice to Bayern, but they shouldn't have lost the away game after Christmas. That's for sure. They were very unlucky to lose that 3-2. They've just been absolutely brilliant for weeks, even months now for me, Leipzig. And what a team. And Kunku with another double tonight. I mean, what a player he is. Probably the player of the Bundesliga for me, probably this year. And also his European performances have been possibly even better than his Bundesliga performances. So, I would imagine they'll go strong again. Why not? Tedesco's just loving life at the moment. They'll go strong again. A win here will probably guarantee them a top 4 finish, I would imagine, because they've got some good fixtures in the last 4 games. For me, I've gone for the same as you, Rory. I've gone for a 3-1 win. And that's not because I don't think Leverkusen are a good side. I just think Leipzig is one of the best teams in Europe at the moment, and nobody can stop them by the look of it.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting game for sure. Looking forward to watching that. So that's obviously the end of our predictions. We've lengthened them out obviously a little bit on this occasion because we don't have Runa this evening to kind of go into loads of detail with regards to fantasy football, but we, of course, will cover it briefly. So Runa, very kindly, as per usual, when he's not here, sends us his top 5 picks from Bully News, of which, of course, you can go onto the website and read in a lot more detail as to why he's chosen these players. Obviously, kind of all the different algorithms and what you need to have a really strong finish for your fantasy football season. I think less said about where me and Mark are in the standings right now, probably the better. Also, I haven't really had the chance to double check, frankly, as I've been very busy chasing after my broken down car today instead. So let's have a look at the top 5 picks that Runa sent over anyway, first of all, and we'll just kind of chat through them, or maybe I'll quiz Mark on who he might want to put in. So we've got Nico Schlotterbeck, obviously of Freiburg, who got pretty decent kind of home game, but looks quite appealing. Of course, Schlotterbeck very heavily linked to a move away from the club right now. It looks like he probably will do, which is a shame, I think, for Freiburg. But they're a well set up team, and I'm sure they'll find an able-bodied replacement. We've got Alphonso Davies, who's an interesting one, I think. Didn't get much / any game time midweek, did he? Which I thought was a bit of a strange one. Now that he's obviously back from his heart condition, so that's a welcome return for him. So maybe worth throwing in, obviously, for the Bielefeld game. Again, could be a game where Bayern score quite heavily in terms of, of Alphonso Davies getting forward from the wide areas. Andre Hahn of Augsburg is an interesting one. He is probably one of Augsburg's more steady representatives, I guess, at home to Hertha this weekend. So, yeah, possibilities there. David Raum, got to be in your team, really. He's been in mine for a long, long while. Got me loads of points in Hoffenheim. Obviously, I've got that very appealing home game to Greuther Fürth, and obviously the fifth pick being Andre Kramaric of Hoffenheim. Third, again, obvious reasons being at home to Greuther Fürth. So, Mark, who are you going to stick in your team this weekend to try and get you a few more points?
Yeah, I think for me, Schlotterbeck, I totally agree with Runer on this one. Schlotterbeck is just an absolute god at this. He's such a strange player because he's a centre back, but you see him all over the pitch. He's literally so important to that side. I mean, I think it was a few weeks ago when he banged one in from 30 yards against Wolfsburg in the position of a striker. I'll never forget that one. And what a player he is, really. He's like an all-around kind of old-school player in some ways, and he's a centre-back, but he brings it into midfield. You can even see him popping up everywhere, really, Nico Schlotterbeck. He gets points for fun, literally, the guy, because, he can defend and he can attack. So he obviously is a defender, and he's the perfect player. No surprise to see him in 19% of teams, to be honest with you, I'm a little bit surprised to see Alphonso Davies in 31%, to be honest, because he's not played that much this season, really, as far as I'm concerned. He's missed a lot through injury and patchy form at times as well this season, really. Andre Hahn's a good tip, because I just think he has had a great season, Andre Hahn, stepping into the shoes of Marco Richter, who obviously joined Hertha Berlin. I think he's had a really good season, especially the second half of the campaign. I think some of my tips, I'd also go put Sylvain Widmer in there from Mainz. He's one of those centre half. He's more of he plays in a back three for Mainz, doesn't he? But he's kind of everywhere, really. He gets forward a lot. He provides assists, and I think he's got 3 or 4 goals as well from that position this season. He's one that always does well for me. I think, potentially Andre Silva as well. He was obviously back in the side tonight for Leipzig. I think he's always worth sticking in there. I think Konrad Laimer as well. What a run of form he's on. He also got an assist tonight against Atalanta. Been one of the best players in the Bundesliga the last 4 or 5 weeks, that's for sure. And he's going to fancy that game. He likes the games against big clubs as well, because he gets a bit more freedom and, to try and express himself. And he just loves those kind of games. He scored against Bayern. He scored 2 against Dortmund a few weeks ago as well. Mm-hmm. So I think maybe Konrad Laimer could be a good tip as well for me.
Very good stuff. So we'll have to bring the show to a close now. So obviously we're recording a bit earlier this evening, as I've got to dart off to football in a moment. But brilliant show again. So thank you everyone for the comments, for watching this evening. Hope you enjoyed the football this weekend and your Easter weekend. Just to answer obviously a few questions, and it's been raised again by Mark Baker with regards to our rivalry videos. One is dropping this weekend. Finally, me and Mark have got everything sorted with this. We've got another one that we've already pre-recorded as well. So we've got 2 basically coming out really, really soon. One will come out this weekend. So we're really looking forward to sharing that one with you. So I really hope everyone enjoys it. More details will come out on Twitter with regards to when that's released. It might even drop tomorrow, so do keep an eye out for that. So over to you, Mark, to close up tonight's show.
Yeah, so as usual, if you enjoyed what you saw, check out our Twitter channel at @OverTheBarFB and at @OverTheBarExtra. Also check out otbfootball.net, which is the centerpiece of our work. And as we said, remember to like, comment, and subscribe below. As Rory said, we do have a good end to the season planned for you as well. We've got a couple of rivalries and derbies videos. Also, we've got the Fighter Bundesliga show as well coming up this weekend too. So Sunday evening, look out for the time because there will be a reminder out there. So remember to subscribe if you're watching this so you can, get that reminder, because that we did it last season where it was a real hit. Actually, I think Matt is going to join us from this Fighter Bundesliga podcast and tell us who's likely to come up into the Bundesliga for next season, and which other teams and players to look out for. So definitely check that out. Obviously, we've got the last 5 rounds of Bundesliga action before the end of another great season. So yeah, we've got a really interesting end to the season for you. So stay tuned. So yeah, I guess we'll see you then on Sunday. The next show will be on Sunday. So yeah, we'll see you then for that show. Bye-bye, guys.
Cheers all.